Captain Sisko is one of the most groundbreaking characters in Star Trek. But who is Captain Sisko? Hey Trekkies, Christian Fox here with another video for you. Today, I want to talk about the amazing Captain Sisko and answer the question, who is Captain Sisko? Captain Benjamin Sisko, an Earth native, is one of the main protagonists in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Sisko has been portrayed by Avery Brooks since the series aired in 1993. Sisko is a very unique character because he's more than just a captain. He's a father, he's a religious icon, he's a baseball fan, and he's a husband. He also happens to be the franchise's first black captain in a leading role. Although his race is not overtly discussed beyond the odd reference, and of course in the classic episode Far Beyond the Stars, the depiction of the character from that perspective is groundbreaking. Prior to becoming the commanding officer of Deep Space Nine, he was the first officer of the USS Saratoga. During that time, he battled the Borg at Wolf 359, where his wife Jennifer tragically lost her life. Struggling with this loss, Sisko took a position at the Utopia Planitia shipyards before being posted to Deep Space Nine. Unlike most Star Trek leads, and much to the irritation of fans, Sisko was a commander and not promoted to captain until a few years into the series. As captain, Sisko was tasked with rebuilding Bajor and getting it into the Federation. We also get to see Sisko captain the Defiant during the Dominion War. Some notable things he did include mining the Bajoran wormhole, essentially starting the war, bringing the Romulans into the war, which is something that deserves its own video, and leading the invasion of Cardassia. All of which proved Sisko to be a very skilled military strategist. Being a captain in Starfleet almost guarantees that you will get involved in time travel shenanigans. In one situation, Sisko and Bashir are transported back in time to 2024 during the Bell riots. Because of their involvement, Sisko has to take on the role of Gabriel Bell and save a group of hostages. Because of his actions, the government eventually got rid of the sanctuary districts where the unemployed were forced to live. It's a bit more complex, but you get the picture. In another situation, Sisko and crew get sent back in time to the TOS era and have to prevent Garvin from killing Captain Kirk with a triple bomb. Yes, a triple bomb. Outside of his captain duties, Sisko is a father. Sisko as a father will go down as one of the greatest dads in not just Trek, but in TV and film history. Throughout the series, we get to see Sisko raise Jake as a single parent. Not only is Jake in almost every episode, but he's a series regular. One of the joys of DS9 is seeing their bond and seeing Jake go from young child to young man. No matter what you may think about Sisko, you can't deny that he's an amazing father. Obviously, raising a child isn't easy, especially on space stations, but it's even more difficult considering that Sisko also happens to be the emissary to the Bajoran prophets. One of the most interesting things about the Sisko character is that he's also a religious leader in the form of the emissary to the Bajoran prophets. From the very first episode, fittingly called Emissary, Sisko becomes emissary. As emissary, he essentially has to speak for the prophets. Although very reluctant initially, he fulfills his role and has some major successes. These include finding the Celestial Temple, aka the Bajoran wormhole to the Gabra Quadrant, effectively putting Bajor and DS9 on the map. He finds the ancient Bajoran city Valhalla, and prevents a massive Dominion fleet from coming through the wormhole. Even more important than these successes, the role has helped Captain Sisko make peace with the loss of Jennifer. Obviously, he still misses her and still has to heal, but the prophets help him realize that he truly never let go and that he was stuck in the time and the place that she died. Of course, being emissary doesn't come without cost. As a Starfleet captain, his first duty is to Starfleet, but as emissary, his first duty is to the prophets in Bajor. For the most part, those roles don't conflict, and Starfleet allowed for Sisko to be both, but in one situation, Sisko almost lost his job when he told the Bajorans that they shouldn't join the Federation at the time. Furious, Starfleet wanted to remove him, but decided not to, as the Bajorans would really only work with Starfleet if Sisko was involved. Being emissary also had serious implications in his personal life. In one situation, he refused to get treatments that would save his life because he wanted to continue receiving visions from the prophets. Although he was willing to sacrifice his life, it would be Jake that would suffer, especially after losing his mom. Making matters worse, he had to be reminded of it by his partner Cassidy Yates. In an even scarier situation, Jake became possessed by a paw wraith when he unknowingly brought about the reckoning, and don't worry, Jake is alive and well. This isn't even mentioning the time he got visions of being a black writer named Bunny Russell in 1950s New York. This episode is one of the few episodes to deal with him being a black man and is considered to be one of the greatest DS9 episodes ever and perhaps one of the best in Trek. But overall, him being emissary did more good than harm. Although not as universe-altering as being emissary, Sisko's love of baseball is ever present in the series and contributes to the character's uniqueness. Star Trek has made many references to Spork. It even has captains play them or love them. Captain Janeway on Voyager was into tennis and played copious amounts of hoverball, and Captain Archer loved watching water polo. But no character has loved sports in Trek as much as Captain Sisko loves baseball. His love of baseball is not just some cutesy thing that is brought up every now and then, but it's used to great effect to explore the character. My favorite example of this is when Gul Dukat sees the baseball on his desk. When Wayun comments on it, Dukat tells him that the baseball is a sign that Sisko will return. That moment reminds us, the viewer, of just how much determination he has as a character and that there's very little that gets in his way. Oh, and there's an episode where the entire crew plays baseball. It's an episode that works on so many levels. On one level, it's just plain cool and dare I say cute to see our heroes learning the rules of baseball and later appearing in full baseball gear. I'll never get tired of Odo as umpire or Rom accidentally hitting Quark with a bat. On the other level, it gets us into the mind of Sisko. We see how obsessive he can be and even how outright mean he can be, such as when he berates Rom. We see how he holds a grudge against the Vulcan captain that he hated since the arm wrestling incident at the Academy, but most importantly, we see that he's reflective and that he can admit when he's wrong. His apology to Rom being front and center. Take Me Out to the Holosuite really is one of the greats. Finally, baseball has a huge impact on his love life. Early on this series, episode 1 to be exact, we see Sisko grieving for the loss of his late wife Jennifer. And for much of the early series, we see him have a fling or two, but it's in season 3 we finally get to see Sisko in full boyfriend mode. And you know what? It's all thanks to Jake in a certain game called baseball. Jake, being one step ahead of his dad, befriends freighter captain Cassidy Yates and realizes that the two would be perfect for each other. And what follows is a decent date that leads to a very cute scene when they both realize they love baseball. It's the romantic version of, did we just become best friends? What follows is that we get to see Sisko become a devoted life partner and a loving husband. Now, I love the two of them and obviously love Sisko, but there are two things that really rub me the wrong way. First, I don't love the pepper freakout when he berated her for burning his homegrown peppers. I get it though, he's human and humans have freakouts like that. Second, I really don't like how he handled the wedding. Basically, he decides every aspect of the wedding, such as it being catered by Quarks and having Admiral Ross marry them. And it's quite clear that it's not what Cassidy wanted. Rant over. But overall, I love that we get to see their relationship grow. I also really love how much Jake likes her and how much the three of them have become a family. Now, there is one other aspect that I touched on earlier, but haven't fully explored, and that has to do with some of the problematic things that he's done as a captain. Sisko is a great captain with a strong moral code, yet there have been two situations where one might say, yeah, that's not super cool. The most famous is when he essentially condoned Gork's murder of the Romulan senator Vreenak. That whole thing has been discussed to death. The short version is that while it isn't great, generally people give him a pass because he had to do it to save billions of lives. And that's generally where I land on the whole debate. But where I have my biggest concern and overall issue is with his dealing of everyone's favorite Maquis traitor, Michael Eddington. In the classic episode For the Uniform, Sisko poisons the atmosphere of an entire planet just to get Eddington to turn himself in. Thankfully, no one is actually hurt and the planet's population is able to resettle on a Cardassian planet. The two actually essentially swap planets. But he literally uprooted an entire population just to catch Eddington. Now, I could be a little more forgiving if Eddington was a Dukat-sized villain and the Maquis were a Dominion-level threat, but they aren't. Eddington and the Maquis were just trying to fight for their homes. That's it. And as we know from Voyager, they're actually pretty awesome. The only reason that Sisko went so hard was because he was duped and felt betrayed. The man even took him to a baseball game. But I understand. Nobody's perfect, and in fact, almost all the captains have moments where they've gone a little too far. And that is probably a good video for another time. That, my friends, is Captain Sisko. Truly one of the greats. He only appears in DS9, so here's hoping that Sisko will return.